How's it going, New World? Sethphir here, and today we are going to be taking a look at some professions, specifically Arcana. And this is one of the first, well, maybe second profession that I ended up mastering because I knew that it was going to be a very valuable source of income for a lot of different reasons. And so I'm going to take a look at high level Arcana, which is 200 level Arcana. We're going to go ahead and break that down today and tell you some things that you can do to make money with it and why it might be worth your time leveling up. So there are a few key things in Arcana, so we'll go ahead and take a look at this station here. You can make magical weapons, you can also make replicas of dungeon weapons, and you can make potions, coatings, and tinctures as well, which are just kind of like absorption potions for like defensive purposes. And the final thing you can do would be to convert up elemental motes into wisp essence and quintessence. And so we'll take a look at all of those things starting at the top, and I'm going to tell you what I've been doing to make money with Arcana, as I've been selling quite a lot of things on the auction house, and this should help you give a good idea on what you're going to need to do. So first and foremost, let's just start by stating that everybody is going to need to get at least 125 Arcana so that you can convert your own essence, motes, wisp, quintessence, whatever you want to call them, up into the next tier so that you can craft your tuning keys for dungeons. So at the very least, you're going to be getting 125 in this particular trade skill. So you might as well go ahead and push it all the way up to 200 and get some good value out of it. So we'll take a look at the sweet spot, which is going to be 150 with Arcana. So there are a few things of note here. First, let's talk about Orichalcum life staffs, fire staffs, and ice gauntlets. So currently in the game with Arcana, you cannot actually reach 600 gear score on a crafted weapon, as opposed to all the other trade professions, and that is simply due to the limiting factor of the amount of 24-hour cooldown resources that it is using. As you can see here, this is going up to 555, and with trophies, I would be able to get this up to 585, and all the gear on, the Arcanist gear, and the buff, the food buff, the housing thing, all that stuff. It'll be within that range. But unfortunately, since we do not have access to a third component here, most crafting recipes do. They'll take Asmodium, runic leather, and then it'll have a third drop-down box for like Phoenix Weave or something like that. That would add the extra 15 points to get it to 600. So since you cannot do that right now, these weapons are kind of a bust. That's probably why you won't see them on the market until that is fixed, changed, or adjusted. And Amazon, please fix this, because Arcana is kind of useless for creating weapons right now because we cannot create 600 gear score weapons, which is just tragic. So that is the one limiting factor at the moment for the weapons, but if they were to fix that and add the extra category in, then you should be able to create Orichalcum weapons with a perk predetermined by adding a special resource. And the perk you would want for the life staff would probably be Blessed, which just increases healing all the way. The perk you would want for the fire staff would be critical hit chance, as that is very needed in the fire tree. And then the same goes with the ice gauntlets. So from there on out, you would be rolling random perks and attributes. However, if you make a replica weapon from a dungeon series, like this Lazarus staff, as you can see, if I place in all the components correctly, it makes about the same gear score, upwards to a 585, and soon to be 600 if they add in the correct materials for some additional costs. But what I do get out of that is an additional attribute bonus, or not bonus, but rather lock in. So I can now control that the attribute is intelligence if I want it to be, or focus, or whatever that may be for the life staff. I can also pick one of the perks by locking it in with a special perk resource. So I get two controlling factors instead of one, which is going to be the route you're going to want to go. So you can make these replicas at a high rank once they fix this and adjust this, so it's something to keep in mind for the future. So we'll go ahead and get rid of the weapons category and the expedition replicas category, and that will leave us with the next category, which will be potions. Something I'm selling a lot of on the market right now is infused health pots. As you can see here, this drop-down list is a little bit confusing. If you were to replace this with the lowest value component, you would be able to create them at a 1-to-1 ratio. So as you can see, this is very cheap. I just simply use 1 Azoth Water, which is collectible within the world, 1 Earth Mote and 1 Soul Mote, and a Water. And I can make a health pot that will sell for somewhere between 3 to 5 gold, depending on your server, and especially a lot more now that the trading has been re-enabled, the auction house is back up, and outpost rush is up. That is going to be the biggest factor for why these potions are going to be selling, because PvPers are going to be chugging these like a madman, and they want these health pots, and they also want these regeneration pots. These sell for a little bit more. I've been selling them between 7 and 10 gold a piece, and it's quite easy to do. I can pick up these materials for very cheap. You can exchange any of the tier 2 components like a soul mote, same with Bumble Blossom, Shellbed Cap, Soul Sprout, whatever you have the most of, you can kind of interchange and use. I do not recommend using the tier 3 components, 4 or the purple ones, 5, because that is just not necessary. Even if I were to use purple components for this, I would still only get a 13% chance to create 1 additional potion, and for 2 purple components, that is just not worth it at all. So keep that in mind, that these are a few nice things that you can do. Mana pots I've been keeping my eye on, but it doesn't seem that they're that valuable on the market right now, as not all classes are mana users. So I would maybe avoid that and focus on regeneration potions and some health pots. And in addition to that, you could just have these on yourself constantly, and it's really nice to just be able to permanently chug these potions. Azoth Water you can pick up on the auction house for cheap. You can also go and locate it in several routes and areas, especially Reek Water. In these few areas that I'm pinning on the map, have a lot of Azoth Water just all up and down the coast. There's a New World database where you can just kind of sort for everything and see where it comes from, and you can use the New World map resource to check that out and see exactly where the location of the Azoth Water is. But there's all kinds around this place. It's so much. Like, you can go through and pick it up. Every time you pick it up, you get somewhere between 3 and 8 Azoth Water. So you can get a stack of 200 of these and make 200 potions, drop them on the auction house for like 7 gold a piece on the regen potions, and walk away with 1,400 gold in no time. And it could be very, very, very fast and very profitable. So these are the potion outcomes that will give you the most yield for gold. So check that out. Infused regen potion, infused health potion. That is going to be good. So we'll go ahead and close that category. And next we will go into coding. Coding is something that's going to be very important for the end game. Once you reach 161, you can do some of the higher level codings, and this one is particularly important, the Angry Earth coding, as it will be valuable for the Spriggan Arena and the Protectors Arena, which are 2 of the hardest arenas in the game at the moment. The other one is Siren's Arena. However, the Siren Arena is just not that difficult, so I don't think anybody's going to be using this potion, but what it does is it gives your weapon a maximum damage bonus, which is 15%, to Angry Earth for 20 minutes, so you're going to be doing increased damage. And the more important one is going to be the corrupted coding, because this is going to be what allows you to beat invasions at the high level. So everyone who's defending a fort and defending an invasion needs a infused corrupted coding on them at all times during the invasion to do maximum damage. And no one's going to want to go out there and farm their own materials. They're not going to want to go out there and get up to 160 or 159 Arcana, and they're definitely not going to want to farm these other components, because as you can see here, you have to use a epic component. However, you can use this piranha tooth, which comes from fishing. I've just not found many of these, so you're basically using one of these salamanders, the blight moth, or the lightning beetle, and then your choice of a secondary from that category. So you can also choose to do a low amount, and again, on the secondaries, it's just going to increase your odds of getting a double duplicate item. I would not use that. I'd just go the cheapest route possible. So for me, it would be a water mote, a death mote, one oil and one of these elemental animals, whichever one you have the most of, or whichever one is the cheapest on the market at the moment. However you want to do that. But that's going to make you a coating that you can sell on the auction house for quite a bit of gold, because in-game players need this in order to beat the invasion. They need this to stop this right now. And I don't think there's very many people who have stopped the invasion. Even on our server, I don't even think anybody's done it. So they're probably going to be preparing and getting closer to doing this soon. This also increases your damage for the portals and some of the other aspects of the game. However, that big one is going to be the invasion, and that's going to be where you're going to get your most sales from. So, keeping that in mind, that will be the coding category for now. And of course, there is a coding for every other monster type in the game. However, we don't see a difficulty use for them right now, so they're just not going to take action until more content is released. So now we are going to go into the tincture category and the absorption potion category. There are a few things here that can be useful. Namely, there is the highest level of corruption tincture and blight tincture, which will grant you immunity to the affliction for a certain amount of time, and you will also get fully remove the affliction meter from your bar, so that's nice to do. So these potions will sell at the highest level for people who are trying to go out into the invasion and DPS pass, like where the trebuchet is, in that corrupted ground area, as this will allow you to exist instead of dying instantly, right? So this is going to be a very nice one. And Blight is okay, but at the moment we don't really have any super use for it, so it's just something to note. The only other thing that I could see being useful here would be some specific things like this. It's going to be a fire absorption potion, which would stop cannon blasts in PvP. It would stop fire mortars in PvP. So some of these potions are going to be used as a temporary damage resistance buff from some super try-hard players. So just keep that in mind. They do exist. There's also the damage absorptions for the specific types of monsters. However, I don't think that these have a play in the game at the moment. They will absorb from like just angry earth for a certain amount of time, or taking damage from them from X amount of time. There's probably a use for that if the game gets harder and high-end content, if they add like mythic level and increased difficulty levels of things, but currently there is not that much. So your best option is probably using this as a PvP potion, but you're going to be hard-pressed to find anybody who wants to buy anything in here besides the corruption tincture, which would grant them immunity in PvE. So lastly, we are going to have the essence category. A lot of times I see motes cheap on the auction house. I buy them up, I convert them into wisp, and as you can see here on the right side, I have a bonus chance to proc and convert into extra wisp, and that continues on for essence as well as quintessence. So if I can fuse these up, look at the market, and say, it looks like a water or an air quintessence sells for this much, but air motes are very cheap, and if I buy them and convert them up, I could potentially craft 2 air quintessence and double my profit. I could craft multiples, or I could just simply do the baseline craft and I can make money off of that. I've done this thousands of times. I've made so much gold off of the auction house of this. It's just taking advantage of people's pure laziness of like, well, I don't want to level up Arcana and convert these things, but I need it to make this whatever it is. So people are going to buy that. A lot of jewel crafters will need things like this. Stone cutters will need things like this, and sometimes they might just be too lazy to go out and get it for themselves. So those are some things to keep an eye out on the auction house for, and how you can make money with Arcana, as well as the various uses that it will be covering in the end game. So I hope this kind of information helps you and allows you to make a profit where you see fit, and hopefully you will be able to take advantage of getting a 200 skill in Arcana. I will be doing future guides covering different trade skills and professions and giving you the end game look at them and how they are useful in the current meta. And of course, this will evolve over time, and I'll tell you where things are going and how things may shift as the game evolves. But for now, that is going to be all it will be. So I appreciate your time in watching. Thank you for viewing this video. Appreciate anybody that has subscribed, like, and hit the notify bell button down at the bottom. It definitely goes a long way. Make sure you check out the join button as well, as we have membership benefits such as perks and emojis and badges, things like that. We also have a Discord where you can ask me questions and like-minded members from the community. Once again, thank you for your time and watching this video, and we will catch you in the next one.